When people ask who is funding UNRWA, here you go. What's very, very important to explain that the Bedein Center for Near East Research has had 5 meetings, 5 official on-the-record meetings with the Office of the United Nations Secretary General, in which the UN officials said to us that the only accountability that UNRWA has is to the donor nations. Not to the United Nations, but to the donor nations. We're talking about $1.6 billion to which it has to be accountable to the UN through Germany, Switzerland, Sweden, Japan, and 16 other nations. And here's the list. Let's take a look at them very carefully. And I can tell you, for these people who are watching this film and who are interested in the subject of UNRWA and the fate of the Palestinian Arab refugees from 1948, especially their descendants, the way in which to confront them is to look at what the donor nations are doing and to ask, is this appropriate for the advancement of the peace? When you look at their curriculum, and you look at their summer camps, and you look at their training for violence. So let's take a look at this list, and I can tell you, when the donor nations see this material, they always respond well, and with a constructive voice. This is David Bedein reporting, Behind the Scene with David Bedein. Let's take a look at the film, and let's also look at the earlier films. We have as many as 8 films which we've created, which we've produced, which show how UNRWA trains the children of UNRWA for war. Thank you and good night.
On the 1st of January in 2022, Palestinian Arabs fired weapons during a military procession at the UNRWA refugee camp of Daheisha. This took place just 15 minutes from Jerusalem. Marchers called for the removal of Jews from the old city of Jerusalem and for the protection of its Al-Aqsa Mosque. The military display was not an unusual occurrence. Such things take place in the streets regularly. UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, runs 59 refugee camps in and around Israel. While it sounds like a benevolent UN humanitarian operation, it is anything but. UNRWA was created after the 1948 Arab-Israeli War as a temporary agency to assist Arab refugees. Now, 74 years later, it functions as a propaganda and military arm of the Palestinian Authority and Hamas. For years, UNRWA has been shrouded in secrecy, with little accountability to donor nations, acting as a base for Palestinian terror operations. It uses UN facilities for rocket launches against Israel. Inside its classrooms, teachers indoctrinate hundreds of thousands of students to liberate all of what is referred to as occupied Palestine. The educators at these schools use Palestinian Authority textbooks to teach the so-called right of return, serving up a mantra to students that they will one day return to villages that existed in current-day Israel. Over the last 10 years, the Bedein Center for Near East Policy Research has filmed military training camps attended by thousands of children under the care of UNRWA. We spoke with students and also interviewed leaders of Hamas who praised such activities and confirmed that they work hand in hand with UNRWA.
طبيعة العلاقة بين حماس والأونروا هي علاقة طيبة وجيدة. نحن نحرص على تسهيل وتيسير أعمال الأونروا، ويحدث تواصل في بعض الأمور التي قد يحتاجون لتسهيل الأمور.
وإحنا جيل فلسطين إحنا بنعشق الشهادة.
والله إحنا بنجاهد عشان القدس وعشان وطننا ونموت شهداء.
هاي جيل التحرير، هان بنحرر فلسطين والقدس وكل الدول المحتلة.
جاي اتدرب عشان احارب اليهود لما اكبر وندافع عن القدس وعن فلسطين.
نتدرب ونستعد لأي حرب جاية، لأن نحن الجيل الجديد الذي يعود لأرضه، وسنحرر الأقصى بإذن الله.
The children attending the summer camps were taught about their so-called inalienable right of return to cities inside Israel, such as Jaffa, Lod, Haifa, Beersheba, Ashdod, and Ashkelon. With these cities just kilometers away, they were told that a return was literally in reach.
أن الاحتلال الصهيوني طرد أبائنا وأجدادنا من أجلنا لنضحي في دمنا ونرجع حيفا والجاهل.
Clearly, the Hamas and Islamic Jihad summer camps have become training grounds for the vilification of Israel. UNRWA teachers and textbooks complement this with an ideology and curriculum that promotes armed struggle for the right of return. Last May, the most recent outbreak of anti-Israel violence in Gaza exposed a tunnel dug by Hamas under a school in UNRWA's Zaytun refugee camp. Here is the evidence. Hamas thus takes the UNRWA children captive not only during the summer, but during the school year itself.
هذا هو جزء لا يتجزأ من ثقافة مناهجنا الدراسية. نعطيهم نوصل هاي المعلومات لطلابنا في مدارسنا عن طريق مواد التربية المدنية والتربية الوطنية.
شو بتعرف عن حق العودة؟
هذا نرمى على اليهود حجار ونذبح اليهود.
شو بتعني لك حق العودة؟
إن نقتل اليهود وندافع عن وطننا. لا بس حيصير بين احنا وإسرائيل لأنه شردونا وقتلونا. لازم نقاومهم ونرجع أراضينا. أنا بحب أرجع كفر قاسم غصبا عن اليهود وأنتصر على اليهود. هم مجموعة من الكفار والناصرة ولا بيحبوا الله ولا بيعبدوا الله وبكرهونا. لأنه نعمل حرب إنه نفرج اليهود إنه إحنا مش إنه إحنا مش شاطرين، إحنا قوايا كمان. أنا بدي أهزمهم بالحرب. أنا من بين السبع. أنا من يافا.
أنا من فلوجة. أنا من المجد.
أنا من اللد.
بس بدك بطلع بستشهد عادي. بيعلمونا إن الأقصى إلنا وإلنا يعني الحق، يعني إلنا فلسطين والأراضي كلها إلنا.
يعني إنهم بيعلمونا بالمدرسة إنهم إرهابيين
إيش أكيد هدول العمليات ترفع الراس ولفلسطين.
بيحكوا لنا عن اليهود إنهم هدول مش مناح وهدول بقتلوا قاعدين بشبابنا. بيحكوا لنا هدول غدارين، وبيحكوا لنا إنه هدول بغدرونا وهدول مش مناح. إذا بطعن بدعس عليهم.
In February of 2022, UNRWA suddenly exerted itself in Jerusalem when it stated that Israel had no authority over a neighborhood in the heart of the city. Known as Sheikh Jarrah or Shimon HaTzadik, it includes a handful of homes that are legally owned by Jews, but now occupied by Arab families. Israeli courts have ruled that these families have no legal right to reside in these homes. Now UNRWA claims that Israel has no legal right to decide who lives there.
UNRWA continues to call on the Israeli authorities to halt this displacement and to protect the rights and dignity of Palestinian refugees in the West Bank, including here in Sheikh Jarrah, where we are today.
What the Israeli government are saying is that they would like us to fight these evictions in the domestic and the Israeli courts, but the UN only recognizes East Jerusalem as being part of the West Bank, not being part of Israel.
This reflects the incitement that is endemic throughout UNRWA. A UN agency does not have to behave this way. UNRWA could emulate the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, an arm of the world body that helps refugees worldwide to rehabilitate their lives. UNRWA could easily adopt these principles if it focused on building better lives. It is time that UNRWA cancels its war curriculum, ceases all paramilitary training, dismisses Hamas-affiliated employees, and introduces the standards of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. Also, it is time for an independent audit to take place of donor funds provided to UNRWA. The time has come to demand oversight of UNRWA schools. The time has come for donor nations to end UNRWA anarchy.